部をわきまえろ。知れ者が。
Take a sip, I've been going off the rip. I've been bumping more cold, play the world cold as shit. I know one thing about the old one, can have more fun with it.
And welcome back to another CGS video. Y'all know me by now. I'm your host. I am CGS. Today, I got the NFC East prediction video for y'all. Before that, it's time to address the buffoonery that goes on in my fucking comments every time I make a prediction. Y'all need to shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. This motherfucker talking about you smoking some shit if you think the Broncos ain't be good. So I ask, what have the Broncos done different from last year other than Sean Payton that will have them better? He brought up offensive line. I'll admit, I missed the Mike McGlinchey signing. Can y'all name any offensive linemen else they signed? I can't. Can Mike McGlinchey play all five? No. Shut the again. You didn't even name them. You didn't even name them. I would have gave you fucking credit if you would have named me the offensive players, but you didn't. You didn't. And guess what I said? Without mentioning Frank Clark and fucking Sean Payton. Guess what he does? He mentions Sean Payton and Frank Clark. I talked about Frank Clark. That was their best signing all fucking year. You fucking idiot. And then you have the fucking nerve be in my comments arguing with me. Shut up. Arguing with someone with fucking 38 subs at the time. I'm at 41 now, by the way. You're arguing with someone with like less than 50 subs. You want the attention so bad. You lucky I couldn't find any of your fucking socials. I would have given to you, bitch. I would let the whole, like, 100 people that finna watch this video see it, too. You lucky son of a bitch. And the other people, get out my fucking comments talk about my mic's bad. I know my mic bad. I'm using a fucking PlayStation mic. They can afford good shit? No. I got bills to pay. I got fucking rent, dude. Come on, dude. I do this shit for fun. I don't give a fuck. But anyways, let's go ahead and get to the NFC East. Starting off today's video, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, your runner-up from last year's Super Bowl. What a heartbreaking loss. I was upset that they lost. I didn't want the Chiefs to win, if I'm being completely honest. It was a good Super Bowl, though. Let's go ahead and get straight into the stats. Finished with a 14-3 record last year. Obviously, as I just said, Super Bowl runner-up team. Offensive-wise, you're averaging 389.1 yards a game, 241.5 through the air, 147.6 on the ground, scoring 28.1 points a game, giving you the third best offense in the National Football League. Defensive side, even better, only giving up 301.5 yards a game, 179.5 through the air, 121.6 on the ground, only giving up 20.2 points a game with a +8 turnover differential, second best defense in the league. And it showed that, like, this team was literally so much fun to watch last year. Jalen Hurts was on fire. Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, that trio of receivers was so fucking fun to watch. Obviously, Dallas Goedert is being mentioned in top 10 now statistically. Like, when you think of top 10 tight ends, a lot of people throw around Dallas Goedert. And obviously, the defense. Yeah, you lost Hargrave to the Niners in free agency, but you brought back Brandon Graham. You drafted Jalen Carter, that D-line, and you got Jordan Davis still. That D-line's going to be great. Obviously you lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in free agency because, he was his ego. He didn't want to take he wanted this money, but now he had himself. You know how it went. But you got one of the best CB duos in football with James Bradbury and Darius Slay. One of the best. And, obviously your safeties could use a little help, but that's why you went inside. You signed, I think his name is Terrell Edmonds from the Steelers after he was waived in the offseason. And then, like I said, you brought back Brandon Graham. You signed Mariota to be the backup. Nicholas Morrow is now there to replace T.J. Edwards, who left in free agency to the Bears. Obviously, Terrell Edmonds. You re-signed Lane Johnson, big part of this team. You signed Kentavious Street. You extended Jalen Hurts 5 years. You signed Zacchaeus, who can play really, really well in the slot. That way, I want to see Zacchaeus on the field more, and I kind of want to see Quez start returning again. I think, though, that group will be, that's a really interchangeable group. And so I'm excited to see that. And then, of course, like I said, the draft, you got Jalen Carter in the first round. You also got Nolan Smith in the first round. You're boosting up that front seven, which has always really been good for the Eagles. And I forgot to mention Fletcher Cox. He's also there, the big veteran, Fletcher Cox. You drafted Sidney Brown, safety. So I'm really excited. And also Keely Ringo. So the Eagles got better. They lost a little bit here and a little bit there, but in the end, I think they still got better from this offseason, from this draft. And it's like they reloaded. They didn't all right, we saw what happened last year. We saw what we need to do better to get back to the Super Bowl. And that's exactly what they did. They drafted positions they needed. And like I said, they lost Hargrave in free agency. He went to the 49ers. But they sat Jordan. didn't sit Jordan Davis, but he sat behind Fletcher Cox and Hargrave. That way he can learn. So now he's going to be ready for this year. You bring in Jalen Carter, who's going to switch out, I believe. You know, that they're going to have a rotational plan for them. Brandon Graham, he's a leader on that defense. He knows what it takes to win because he's won a Super Bowl with this team before. Obviously, like I said, you lock down Jalen Hurts. My bad. You lock down Jalen Hurts for 5 years. That's your franchise guy right there. And I'm so excited to see what he can do now. Obviously, you know, of course, you still got Hassan Reddick coming off the other edge. How can I forget that, man? Almost, you know, he's been killing it. But like I said, this team is really good still. This team's gonna win a lot of more games. I think, you know, maybe 15. Like I don't see them losing as much. Now maybe they lose the same. Maybe, you know, obviously you're gonna end up dropping a few. But I don't see this team losing a step at all whatsoever. I think the Eagles will be on top or try to remain on top for at least the next couple 2-3 years. All right, let's go ahead and get into the Philadelphia Eagles schedule. But before we do, I forgot to mention that I love the DeAndre Swift trade. Really like him more than I liked Miles Sanders last year. So I think DeAndre Swift will also thrive in this offense, along with Rashad Penny, like I said. So I'm getting out the way now, football police. Before y'all come into my fucking comments talking some crazy shit too. I dare you though, bitch. Come on. You want to be Adam Schefter so bad. Let's go ahead and get into the schedule, bro. Opening up away against New England, win. You beat Minnesota. You beat Tampa Bay. You beat Washington. You beat the Rams. I think you lose to the Jets in a close one, but you beat the Dolphins. You're going to beat the Commanders. You're going to sweep them. I think you'll beat the Cowboys the first time around. And going into your bye week, then come out your bye week, I said you beat the Chiefs. I think you'll lose to the Bills. No, that'd be a close one too. I think you beat the Niners. I think you drop one to the Cowboys as well. You know, Philly usually drops one to the Cowboys every year. I said you beat Seattle. I think you beat New York. I said you beat Arizona, and I think you beat New York twice. So I believe another 14-3 season is in the works for the Philadelphia Eagles. This team, like I said, this team hasn't lost a step, and it shows. You know, all the moves they made in the offseason, in the draft, trades, they got better. You know, they got so much better, and it's gonna be tough because like I low key kind of I kind of hate the Eagles as a Saints fan, but I love seeing these players play. I love watching good football. So with that being said, I'm giving the Eagles a 14-3 record. The next team we are looking at in today's video is the New York Giants, a team who I disrespected the fuck out of last year. If y'all remember, if y'all seen last year's NFC East video, I said the Giants would go 1-15 because they were such a disorganized, dysfunctional organization. I thought they'd be the worst team in football. I was wrong. I'm apologizing because I'm admitting I was wrong. I'll never disrespect the Giants again. But this team actually surprised me last year. Obviously, they made the playoffs. Even beat the Vikings, who were the 2 or 3 seed? The 3 seed in the playoffs in the wild card. So I got to give my respect to the Giants. Said a lot of terrible things about this team last year. They proved me wrong. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. Finished 9-7-1. Offensive-wise, you averaged 333.9 yards a game, 185.7 through the air, 148.2 on the ground, scoring 21.5 points a game, but only giving you the 18th best offense in the league. Not that impressive. Defensive side of the ball really isn't any better, giving up 358.2 yards a game, 214 through the air, 144 on the ground, giving up 21.8 points a game with a +3 turnover differential, the 25th ranked defense in the league. And like I said, this Giants team was very surprising, and especially because you look at those stats, you're like, this team wasn't really that good. They won 9 games, only tied once, lost 7, still made the playoffs, and ended up beating the 3rd seed Vikings in the playoffs. Like I said, it was just this team caught fire late, and that's what really propelled them. Saquon Barkley had a good year. Daniel Jones played well enough to he didn't throw this. I think this is the Giants' first time since Daniel Jones took over as starter that they had a plus turnover differential. So that's a big plus right there because we all know Daniel Jones likes to give the ball up early in his career. You know, he had more turnovers than he did touchdowns at one point. And so see him, you know, he just locked down a 4-year contract, which really wasn't that deserving in my opinion. However, he did play well last year. A lot of other people think he deserved it. So, but like I said, it's like this team caught fire late, helped them propel them even to a playoff victory for the first time since 2016, I believe. So, you know, like I said, Giants had a really, really good year. Re-signed Gerard Davis, linebacker core. Him and Jalen Smith really didn't play bad at all. You released Kenny Galladay, who didn't do a thing for the organization since signing $4-year $1 million deal. You signed Leonard Johnson to a 3-year deal. Signed Paris Campbell. You re-signed Darius Slayton. Signed Jamison Crowder. Like those are good guys to build around. Obviously, like no, especially I like Darius Slayton. I thought the Saints were gonna trade for him midseason last year. I like the way he plays, so I'm excited to see what he can do. You signed Amani Oriwarie, I believe that's how you say it. So he's really, I liked him on the Lions. Him and Jeff Okuda were a good pair. Obviously, the Lions rebuilt their secondary. Now he's here to help build the Giants secondary. Kind of weak secondary in the league as right now. Signed Ashawn Robinson to a 1-year deal. And then when you look at the draft class, you signed Deontay Banks with your first round pick. Like I said, they're building a young DB core right now. Second round, you got John Michael Schmitz, center from Minnesota, boosting up that offensive line. You signed Jalen Hyatt, explosive wide receiver from Tennessee. I can't wait to see how he plays on this team. I think he'll do big things in the league. And like I said, this is still like this team's kind of young. Obviously you got Leonard Williams in the defensive line. You got Kayvon Thibodeau coming off the edge, and like I said, you got a lot of young guys. And they made that trade for Darren Waller, and I believe that's gonna help Daniel Jones out a lot. Obviously Xavier McKinney is leading that secondary. He's really really good. I love watching McKinney play every Sunday. And then like Isaiah Hodgins broke out late last year. Really excited to see him. Obviously, one of my favorite players, Lawrence Cager, is also on this team. I thought he played really decent last year. Like I said, and Saquon and Daniel Jones, if they can get it going early, I think this team will be really, really successful. Obviously, you got to lock down Saquon on a deal first. He's not going to take, you can't pay him low. The shit he did last year after being injured for so long, you can't disrespect him by paying him low. You got to give him what he deserves, and he deserves the money. He's every penny. Like if I really want him to stay in New York, but I would like to see him thrive on another team. I think he'll be great in another team in another division, somewhere that actually wants him there. Because obviously the Giants are stalling out. He's already threatened that he won't want to play. But I'm excited to see what the Giants do this year. Obviously, like I said, they're building a young core of guys. Coach Dable, he's putting them together. That's the whole reason why they won these games and were able to make a playoff push late in the season because of him. He brought these guys around. He showed them what it's going to take. They understood. They listened to him. Obviously, not the record you were wanting, but it was good enough to get the job done. This team and this division should be really fun to watch. All right, let's go ahead and get into the Giants' upcoming schedule. You open up the year against Dallas. I think you'll lose that one. I said you beat Arizona, and I said you lose to San Francisco. I said you lose to Seattle. I think you lose to Miami. I think you lose to Buffalo. I think you beat Washington. I think you lose to the Jets. I said you beat the Raiders. I'll give you one on the Cowboys. Giants and Cowboys usually battle. I think the Giants will take at least one. You'll sweep the Commanders. I think you'll lose to the Patriots, and you have a late bye this year. I said you beat the Packers. I said you beat the Saints. You'll lose to the Eagles. And I said you beat the Rams. And then, of course, you get swept by the Eagles. Unfortunately for this Giants team, I see them going 8-9. I don't see a repeat of last year happening. Obviously, like I said, the schedule is really, really against them this year. Obviously you got teams like San Fran, you got teams like Seattle, you got Dallas, you got Philly in your division, and you got like the Jets, you got the Bills, Dolphins are also a sleeper team. I said it's just the schedule is stacked against you. Maybe if your schedule was a little bit easier, I give you a few more wins. However, an 8-9 season seems to be in the work for the Giants this year. The next team we're going to be looking at is the Washington Commanders, a team who barely missed out on the playoffs last year. It all came down, the final few weeks. Obviously, it was a rough season. All the quarterback situations, all the coaching. It was really a rough season for the Commanders, but somehow you still finished with the 8-8 record. So let's go and get into the stats. Commanders finished 8-1 last year, tying with the Giants. On offense, they averaged 330.3 yards a game, 201.2 through the air, 126.1 on the ground, scoring 18.9 points a game, which gave them the 20th ranked offense in the league. Defense side of the ball was surprising, giving up 304.6 yards a game, 191.3 through the air, 113.3 on the ground, only giving up 20.2 points a game with a -5 turnover differential, but the third total defense in the football league. Really surprising. But, Washington has always been known for good defenses over the past few years. Obviously, we always talk about how good their front seven is, with Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young. We always talk about how good those guys are. They are good. Obviously, they just locked down Deron Payne to a 4-year contract. Chase Young, there's speculation that he might get traded. But to me, it's always been, the DBs on this team that, are really, really questionable. Bobby McCain, you had Kendall Fuller last year who really stood out on that defense. But it really revolves around the offense. Obviously you went through three different quarterbacks last year with Carson Wentz. You got Sam Howell and Taylor Heineke. So it's just like I said, it's really weird that we didn't see him really go out and make moves at the quarterback position. Yeah, you signed Jacoby Brissett, but this team seems to be putting their faith in Sam Howell. I'm not. I'm definitely not going to. I really just don't see it. Obviously, you got two good running backs in Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. Obviously, Scary Terry McLaurin, top receiver in the league. Jahan Dotson's right there with second year guy. He's gonna be really really good. Logan Thomas, big versatile tight end. He's tall. He can go up for a jump ball. But my whole thing is like I don't think Sam Howell is ready to lead this team. Yeah, y'all went and signed Eric Bieniemy. Obviously, he was the mastermind in KC on that offensive side of the ball. He knew what plays to call. He knew. And obviously, working with Patrick Mahomes, that's different. But to go from Patrick Mahomes to Sam Howell, I just don't see. I don't see how Eric Bieniemy is going to be able to make such a drastic change in one season. Obviously, like I said, this team has a lot of holes. And when you go back and look at it, they didn't really sign anybody. And now I'm looking at it, they released Bobby McCain. I'm over here talking about Bobby McCain. They just released him. And so, like I said, I'm not like when you're looking at it and it's on your screen, like you really don't see anything that stands out to you, and you're just like, oh well, that's gonna make them instantly better. I'm not seeing anything like that. Draft picks, drafting Emmanuel Forbes, who I really like coming out of college from Mississippi State. I think he's gonna help out that defensive room a lot. Jartavius Martin, safety from Illinois, I think he was really good as well. And then obviously Ricky Stormberg, Arkansas center. KJ Henry, the edge from Clemson. And like I said, this team didn't really get better in my eyes. Obviously, like I said, it's just about quarterback situation. Like I said, I don't see Sam Howell playing good. Obviously, they're probably if he doesn't play well, they're gonna throw Jacoby Brissett in there. But maybe that's their plan. Maybe their plan is to try to figure out what's going on, get a high draft pick for next year, and just figure stuff out from there. But I don't see this team doing any better than they did last year. Yeah, this team was on the cusp of a playoff berth last year. Ultimately fell short in the last few weeks. But this year, this just feels like a whole different team. Obviously, Ron Rivera, he's been to the Super Bowl before. He knows what it takes to win, and I believe he also knows that this team isn't in any position to think about long term, like playoff wise. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with the Commanders this year. But I really don't have high expectations for this team. Now let's go ahead and get into the Commanders' upcoming schedule. Open up against the Cardinals. I said you lose that one. I said you lose to the Broncos. You'll lose to the Bills. I said you lose to the Eagles. I said you lose to the Bears. Atlanta. I said you lose to the Giants. You'll lose to the Eagles again. I think you'll beat the Patriots. I said you lose to Seattle. I said you get swept by the Giants. You lose to the Cowboys. You'll lose to the Dolphins. I said you beat the Rams. You'll lose to the Jets. You'll lose to the Niners. And I think you'll beat the Cowboys the last week of the season. At the end of it all, I see the Commanders going 3-14. It's like I said before, this team really didn't do anything in the offseason to show me that they're ready to compete. That shows me that they're trying to make a run. Obviously, like you see what all the other teams are doing. They're making moves. They want to win because they know they have the guys who can win. So it's like I said, the Commanders haven't really shown me anything. I don't think they're trying to show anything, so I think a 3-14 season is in the works for the Commanders this year. And for the final team in today's video, we're looking at the fucking Dallas Cowboys. Y'all should know I fucking hate the Cowboys. This is why I always put y'all last. If you're a Cowboys fan watching it, I don't care. Go cry. I will always make sure I do your team last in the NFC East video. I fucking hate y'all. I really just fucking hate the Cowboys. There's no particular reason. They got a lot of good players. I just don't fucking like them. Let's go and get straight into it. Finished last year with a 12-5 record. Made the playoffs. Lost to San Fran in the divisional round. We all know that final play, right? Offensive wise, you averaged 354.9 yards a game, 219.8 through the air, 135.2 on the ground. Shout out Tony Pollard. He is on my fantasy. Scoring 27.5 points a game, giving you the 11th best offense in the league. Defensive wise, only gave up 330.2 yards a game, 200.9 through the air, 129.3 on the ground. Giving up 20.1 points a game with a plus 10 turnover differential. Really good. Giving y'all the 12th best total defense in the league. Really solid year for the Cowboys. Obviously, Zeke, Tony Pollard played well. Michael Gallup played well. CeeDee Lamb played well. Dak had a really good year. The defense really stood out. Trayvon Diggs, Malik Hooker, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leighton Vander Esch, all those guys really, really played well. Jaron Kearse. And it just seems like the Cowboys actually did get a little better. Obviously, you traded for Stephon Gilmore. You traded for Brandon Cooks, guys who know what it takes to win, who've been in Super Bowls. You know, Brandon Cooks was in a Super Bowl against Stephon Gilmore. We know like the whole Rams Super Bowl, Rams Patriots Super Bowl. You know, those two actually went up against each other that Super Bowl, so they know what it takes to win. They've been on winning organizations. These guys are, you know, once all pros at their positions, Pro Bowlers, so they know what it takes. I think Brandon Cooks is going to add a lot of help to this receiver room. Obviously, you let go Dalton Schultz last year, but I really like the combination we're going to see with CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and of course Michael Gallup in this upcoming year. You release Ezekiel Elliott. You're going to put all your faith in Tony Pollard, who played really well last year. Who, you know, you didn't give you a reason to keep Zeke. Obviously, Zeke's getting up there in age. He's probably, most people says he's lost a step. But I think this team is moving in the right direction. Obviously, I really don't like saying that, but like, you know, obviously the Cowboys are doing what they have to become better as a team, to become better, to compete with the Eagles, to compete with the 49ers, compete with all these teams that go to the NFC Championship area, you know. And so, like I said, I like what they're doing. Obviously, coaching. I really do not like the coaching. Mike McCarthy, he was never really a good coach in, you know, his time with the Cowboys. Really, not even his time with the Packers. I wouldn't say he was a decent coach. Obviously, he's been there. He's also won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes to win. Obviously, the great offensive line y'all have: Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, all these guys who can step up and make plays. Like I said, on the defense side of the ball, that Stephon Gilmore, he's going to come in and add to this DB room that played really well last year. You know, Malik Hooker, Trevon Diggs, Deron Bland, Jaron Curse, all these guys who played really, really well. And you're adding more veteran help. You're adding more veteran, and you know you're adding someone who can spread knowledge, who knows what it takes. It's like I said before. You know, Stephon has multiple Super Bowl appearances, multiple rings, Defensive Player of the Year. Like, you know, he knows what he's doing. And like I said, Brandon Cooks, he's played with some of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like, he knows what it takes to win. You know, he was there with Drew Brees and played with, you know, a good coaching staff in LA. You know, he played with Tom Brady. And so, like I said, the Cowboys are doing what they have to make sure they're gonna go compete with the rest of everybody in the NFC. Because like I said, they're not far behind. You know, they're not far behind the Eagles. They're not far behind the 49ers. And I'm not trying to say that just to say, but like, I truly think they're really not that far behind. I can slander this team all day, but in reality, they have a really, really solid team. They just don't show up when it matters. You know, we always talk about garbage stats when the Cowboys are down big, but Dak puts up these good numbers in garbage time. And if they can avoid that, if they can avoid going down big, but you know, if they, like I said, avoid going down big, keep games close, or blow out the team, make sure you just keep your foot on the gas the whole time. No one will give you shit. And so, like I said, I really like what they're doing. The draft, you know, the first two picks in Mozzie Smith and Luke Schoonmaker, I really didn't like. Obviously, Mozzie Smith does bring a level of intensity to that interior defensive line, which does really help. I do believe there was a lot of better tight ends on the board other than Luke Schoonmaker. So I really didn't understand that one. You brought in RB Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State, who I really liked watching. You know, he's really physical. I like seeing him play. And you also drafted Jalen Brooks in the last pick. So I think the Cowboys are heading in the right direction as of now. Question is, are they going to be able to come through when it actually matters? When, you know, like I said, when it actually matters in the playoffs? Because obviously these past few years haven't been able to pull it through. So maybe this year can be different. I guess we'll find out. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Cowboys' upcoming schedule. I said you beat the Giants to open up the season, week 1. I think you'll lose to the Jets in week 2. You'll beat the Cardinals week 3. You'll beat the Patriots week 4. Week 5, I said you'll lose to San Fran. I think you'll beat the Chargers in week 6. Going into your bye week in week 7, I said you beat the Rams week 8. You'll lose to the Eagles week 9. I think you'll lose the Giants week 10. You'll beat the Panthers in week 11. You'll beat the Commanders in week 12. You'll lose to Seattle in week 13. You'll beat the Eagles in week 14. You'll lose to the Bills in week 15. I think you'll beat the Dolphins in week 16. I said you beat the Lions in week 17, and I said you lose to the Commanders in week 18. At the end of the day, I see the Cowboys going 10-7, enough to secure a playoff spot, but they do face a lot of tough teams in this year with their schedule. However, there are going to be a lot of close games. I don't think the Cowboys will complete, like, you know, point differential shouldn't be that much in these losses. Play a lot of really good teams, such as the Niners. You know, Eagles are in your division, Giants are in your division. But it's like I said, the Cowboys are poised for a decent year again. And like I said earlier in the Commanders and Giants portion, I'm excited to see how this division turns out. As always, hypothetically speaking, if these records were to happen to each team in this division, here's how the division would look. Eagles would finish first and win the title of the division once again with a 14-3 record. The Cowboys would be at second with a 10-7 record. Giants would come in third at 8-9, and the Commanders would come in last place with a 3-14 record. That concludes the NFC portion of the prediction videos, meaning we have what the NFC playoff picture would look like if every single record I predict came true. And here is how the NFC playoff picture would look. At 1, we have the Eagles with a 14-3 record, holding the tiebreaker over the 49ers for the number 1 seed. Coming in at the 2nd seed, we have the 49ers with a 14-3 record. Obviously, that matchup in the season will determine who gets the 1 seed. Saints come in 3rd seed with a 12-5 record, and the Lions will take home the 4th seed with an 11-6 record. Those are your division winners. The wildcard teams consist of the 5th seed Seahawks with an 11-6 record, the 6th seed Cowboys with a 10-7 record, and the 7th seed Vikings, who will sneak in with a 9-8 record. Once again, thank you for watching. We got one more prediction video after this, and of course the playoff predictions based off my records that I predict for each team. Hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, we got one more, gentlemen. One more. It's exciting. You know, I'm excited, especially because now we can put together a whole playoff picture after the AFC's video is done. Once again, like I said, thank you for watching, and tune in for whatever's next on the channel. God bless, and you stay blessed.
領域展開
She at the show, so she never let her in. Always knew she always on.